Hi, welcome back. It's Jay Green with GW Private Capital. I want to explain to you how a private money loan works when you're buying a flip. I've been lending private money loans for over 30 years and I flip a lot. We lend a lot of private money loans to local flippers. But let me go through kind of the basics. So let me give you a scenario here. So let's say you're buying this property here, purchase price. Okay, so let's say you're paying $400,000. We're going to ask you about your experience. It's not always critical that you have experience, but it does help if you flipped before. If you haven't, that's okay. We can walk you through it. You're buying it for $400,000. And then we're going to ask you, do you have the property in escrow? Do you have it? Do you have the property under contract? Meaning, have you written an offer? Has someone accepted your offer? And are you going to be putting the house in escrow? Because flipping right now in this market, it's very competitive, and one of the hardest factors in flipping is buying the deal. So one of the first things I'm going to ask you is, have you put the property in escrow? If you haven't, that's okay. I'll still explain this to you, and I'll tell you about the interest rates and our fees and how the process works. But it's what I encourage you as a flipper or realtor who's out there buying property is look at lots of properties, write tons of offers, and just tie the property up, get it in escrow. Where's the property located? And then I'm going to ask you, how much do you think it's going to cost to repair the property? Your repairs and rehab expenses. So let's say it's $50,000 in repairs, and then I'm going to ask you, what do you think the property is going to sell for when it's after it's repaired? The ARV, the after repair value. So let's say the ARV of the reselling price, the resale price, and you tell me it's going to be $575,000. I'll lend you between 80 to 90% of the purchase price. So if you're buying this property for $400,000, let's say we're going to go up to 90% of the purchase price. I'm going to lend you, that's $360,000. Because say the down payment's going to be 10%. So you're going to need $40,000 down, and then our loan amount's going to be the difference, which is $360,000. We're going to lend you between 80 and 90% of the purchase price. The term of our loans are usually 6 months to 12 months, and we'll usually tailor the term to how long you're going to need it. So if you're like, I'm going to be in and out of this in 4 or 6 months, then we'll make the loan 6 months. If you need it longer, we can extend it. And the interest rates on our loans are usually going to be in the 8 or 9% range for first position trustees. It can be a little higher if you're putting less money down or your credit's not the best, but the payments on our loans are interest only. So if you're borrowing $360,000, let's say the interest rate's 9.5%. So the monthly interest payment is $2,850. So you need to calculate that. When you're getting ready to buy your deal, you need to work this into your model, because if you hold this for 6 months, you're going to be paying $17,100 over 6 months for private money interest payments. That's why when you're using private money, it's so important you get these deals really at good prices, because you're at a little bit of a disadvantage against a buyer who's using all cash. Because the private money, it's great, and you can buy these deals with not much money out of your pocket, but you need to factor that into your model to know what you're going to make after you pay your private money costs. So you're going to borrow $360,000. You're going to be putting $40,000 down, which is 10%. And sometimes we'll lend you all or part of that $50,000 rehab. And that interest rate is going to be the same as it is on the first mortgage at that 9.5%. Additional costs of borrowing private money is you're going to be paying origination fees and costs. So it's not just the interest rate, but you need to figure on a private money loan, you're going to be anywhere from about 1.5 points to as high as 3 points, sometimes more, but on an average about 2 percentage points borrowing $360,000. So 2 points on $360,000 is $7,200. So you need to consider these costs and ask me or another private money lender. You need to ask the private money lender, what are your fees for borrowing your loans? Because these do add up. So it's $7,200 just in fees, and normally you pay that up front when you borrow the loan, so you need to have that. And then there's usually fees like underwriting, sometimes an appraisal. Sometimes we don't do an appraisal. And so those other fees can be anywhere from like $800 up to $2,000. So you need to factor those fees into your loan cost when you're buying a flip. So let's figure that's going to be like another $2,000 just in loan fees. That's doc prep, underwriting, appraisal, and so loan fee. These are going to be pretty standard from lender to lender. And the nice thing with us when you're borrowing money from GW Private Capital is we'll tell you up front. Like I can tell you in a day or two how much I'm going to lend you, what the interest rate's going to be, how much it's going to cost you, and I'll send you a letter of intent, an LOI, and that way you can decide if you want to work with me or you want to borrow money from someone else. So I'm going to let you know up front. I'm not going to tell you something and then cross my fingers that I'm going to deliver on my loan. I fund a lot of loans. When I send you a letter of intent, we're going to fund that loan for you. I've funded loans in days. On these flip loans, if you give me about 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks, that's perfect. I can close it. If you need to get it done in a week, I can do it. And I've done these loans in days. There's not a lot of private lenders that do these types of loans. Like you call around a lot of private lenders and they normally want more money down. Usually they want like 20, 30, 40% down. That's where we're a little different because we'll lend you the money with very little money down, 10, 15, 20%. Now, if you're buying a really good deal, what makes us different is that we'll lend you in a lot of cases a second mortgage, and I do a lot of second mortgages. And so in this case, where you need like the $40,000 for your 10% down, we'll sometimes lend you that second trust deed. So the more experience you have, the more confident we're going to be to provide a lot of financing, meaning a first mortgage and a second mortgage, where you're getting this kind of leverage. Leverage meaning you're not putting a lot of money into the deal, you're borrowing a lot based on the purchase price. And so we can sometimes lend you that $40,000. Sometimes we'll lend you the $50,000 also, where you're able to get into these flips with very little money out of your pocket. Now let me talk about the cost of the second mortgage because you need to figure that in. Interest rates on the second mortgages are going to be higher. Normally going to be 10 to 15%, and they're going to usually cost more than 2 points. We might charge you a flat fee. We might charge you a flat $2,000 to $5,000 to borrow that $40,000 in this case. And you'll also have, sometimes you'll have a monthly interest payment on that. Sometimes we'll allow you to defer that payment to the end when you sell the property. You need to understand the cost of a private money loan when you're buying a flip because it does cut into your profit. They're amazing. I use private money loans to buy my own flips. They're a good way to get into properties when you don't have a lot of money. If you get a flip and you want to price it out with us, give me a call. I'll give you the terms. I'll tell you what the interest rate is, the loan amount. I'll tell you the mechanics of how it works. What I'm going to need from you, my GW Private Capital Loan Borrower Application Package, which includes a loan application, rehab budget. I need to have a copy of your credit. I need the purchase agreement, escrow instructions. I'm not going to put you through all this paperwork until you have a deal tied up and you like my terms. That's why I'll usually give a loan proposal right up front so you know what it's going to cost. And then you're like, hey, I love it, let's proceed. And that saves a lot of time. We fund these loans with our own money, and we have a lot of private investors that invest with us. When I send you a letter of intent, a commitment, I'm running the deal past my investor and we're talking about it. And then we're sending you our letter of intent. We're actually giving you a commitment that based on what you're representing, that you're buying the property for $400,000 and you're gonna put $50,000 in rehab, it's gonna sell for $575,000. If we can rely on these factors and your experience, and you can count on us, and the letter of intent I'm sending you, we're gonna stand behind it. And that's why people come back to GW Private Capital, and we have a lot of repeat customers. Private money isn't as cheap as going to a bank, but you're not gonna go to a bank days or a couple weeks. And especially, they're not gonna lend on a lot of these flips because of the condition of the property. So the nice thing about borrowing money from us is we don't really care how beat up the property is. We're not so concerned about where it's located. Nice thing about borrowing money from us are a minimum credit. It does help if you have great credit, but if you don't have the best of credit and you have experience, that's okay. So get out there, look for your flips, tie them up, find your deals, write your offers. If you need help writing a loan letter that you can give to the realtor or the seller, I'll prepare that for you. And I don't mind going through these scenarios with you to help you determine how much money you're going to make on the deal. That's why that flip analysis worksheet is so important, because you're going to plug all your private money loan cost, your purchase price, how long the project's going to take, all your commissions, your loan fees, your interest payments, your rehab costs. You're going to put that in that flip analysis sheet that I shared with you in a previous video. If you want to know more about our loan programs, give me a call, 714-747-1912. We flip too, so we understand that once you get that property tied up, you don't want to lose the deal. You don't want to lose the deposit. You only have this short window and you need to perform. And that's why it's so critical to go to the right private hard money lender when you're borrowing flip money. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful, and best of luck in 2021.